Hey everybody, welcome to the PixelBlips podcast for May 26th, 2013. I'm Andy Ryan. Welcome to the next level. Joining me as always is the man who does what Nintendo don't, Dave DeWert. Dave, you and I have been playing the same game this week.
Yeah, we've both been playing Germinator for the Vita.
Yes. Well, I got a lot of games this week. The Memorial Day sale at Vintage Stock kind of went crazy. But,
well, yeah, that happens.
But yes, Germinator's been really fun. It's you just called it Bust a Move in Reverse.
It is. It's like upside down bust a move. It's really neat. And it's got some neat mechanics, right? Like you fill up your little meter, you can superpower one of the little germs that you shoot.
Yep.
And then it'll like blow up all the germs of that color, or depending on the color, they do different things.
Yeah.
So it's a neat little game. It's free on the PSN this week, right?
Yep.
Or for however long they leave
PS
it up
Plus.
there. Yeah, however long they leave it up there.
Yeah. I was playing the story mode for a long time and got really fed up with it. And then I noticed there was an arcade mode I unlocked. And then I started playing the arcade mode, and now I'm in love with it again.
Oh, okay. Yeah, see, I don't like you're sitting there and
they give you shapes, and you have to kind of figure out how to dissolve the shapes.
Oh, okay. I only played like the first 5 or maybe 10 levels of the story mode, and I was just kind of like, meh, okay.
The problem with the shapes is some of the shapes are very tall, so you kind of start out at a very distinct disadvantage.
Yeah, yeah. That's the other thing I noticed is because the stuff kind of starts to build up and it pushes it up at you, and with the Vita screen being wider than it is tall, it kind of makes it a real challenge to kind of get it out there. And like if you don't,
when the thing that you're fighting is already takes up 3/4 of the screen.
Yeah, you have to take the top out, and then you have to work your way back down.
Pretty much,
it's pretty
effed.
Yeah,
the arcade mode is really fun. The arcade mode is a bust a move arcade mode where it just keeps feeding in from the bottom.
And it's like survival mode basically, where you have to play until it hits the top.
Yeah, very fun, very fun.
That's cool.
And
I mean, it seems like a neat little
the
game.
Powers, and for a free game, it's
great.
For
part of your PlayStation Plus subscription, it's definitely worth at least a try if you have a Vita.
It does a good job of utilizing both the touchscreen and the control pad to kind of give you like however you want to control this. It lets you like if you just want to tap the screen to like shoot the germs at the germs you want.
Oh, okay. So see, I didn't even realize you could use the touchscreen to aim. Like, can you just like, okay, I want to bounce it off this wall, so you have to hit right here on the wall, and then
you hit the wall and then it bounces off.
Okay.
Or you're like, I definitely want to hit this germ, so you just tap the germ and it'll shoot at the germ
in that direction, and if there's anything in the way, it'll hit it.
It'll get stuck, but if not,
if you power it up and then shoot it, it'll go straight through. That's cool. Like I hadn't even really messed with a lot of it.
The power up motion is a swipe across the screen, so and it doesn't work as well because it's pretty finicky.
Yeah.
But
you just hold the trigger down.
Hold the trigger down.
That's cool. I mean, it's for a free game, it's pretty neat. I also played a little bit of Kinlet Underground, which is a Metroidvania.
I hated it. I played it for like 20 minutes and was like, yeah, this isn't for me. It's
neat. It's a Metroidvania style game, but it's also free, so it's not like
it reminded me a lot of Flashback.
Yeah, that's kind of, I can see that.
Or Blackthorn, where it's like, here's this screen is what you're on, and we'll go to the next screen.
Yeah.
Also, what was that? What was that game for the Master System that was the Metroid killer? Started with a Z.
Nothing.
I'll think about it later.
Well, we'll figure it out later.
It's the exact same type of like you walk over and this is a new screen and you get through it. I didn't like it.
It was neat. I kind of like those little games, and just playing Guacamelee, it's kind of like it's more of the same that I wanted without all the combat. At least so far, I'm not very far. So.
Yes. So.
Yeah.
So that's what we were playing this week. But another big thing happened this week that has nothing to do with the Vita.
Or Sony or Nintendo. Well, kind of, but not really.
I mean, very tangentially it has to do with those things.
Yes.
So the Xbox One, which let's get this out of the way first.
I do not like that name.
We both don't like the name.
That name is silly. I would have just preferred them to say, gone the Apple route and said the new Xbox, and then eventually people will just call it the Xbox, like we do with the 360 now. We either call it the Xbox, the 360, or the Xbox. It just depends.
Normally when I hear people say the Xbox, they mean the first one. They call the 360 the new one.
No,
I mean not the new one anymore.
Well, people I work with call when they say, do you have a PS3 or an Xbox? And I have both actually, but
I've been talking to people a lot this week since it was announced on Tuesday. And people that are tech savvy or entertainment savvy, and there's a boatload of confusion.
Yeah, it is. There was a lot of stuff that they kind of touched on, but they didn't really go into. And then there's some stuff that they didn't say anything about at all in the press conference that we then found out through, like, they had a secondary. It looked like it was a press conference with.
Once again, if a bald dude with a ponytail shows up and I'm the PR guy, I'm like, you have two choices: you are putting on a hat,
or you're not going on screen.
Your head.
Yeah,
like you are not looking like that. Like,
well, that was Brad Shoemaker's favorite guy. He apparently had a lot of really interesting things to say.
That's great, and it doesn't matter.
You just didn't.
It's a PR event. It's how you look.
Whatever. I watched what we watched of it because we watched about half of it. And
Yeah.
we were like, I'm sleepy. I'm tired of this.
Yeah, it was very canned answers.
Yeah, it was. It was totally a setup event. But that's not what we're here to talk about.
We're here to talk about what the actual thing was. So a lot of the confusion comes from the name. A lot of the confusion comes from how it's going to handle your cable box.
Yeah, that's
Because there was this really radical idea that the local radio station actually picked up on, which I looked into, and it actually has a lot of following. People think that it's a cable box, that you'll be able to buy these channels a la carte. You won't need to do cable anymore.
Isn't there a bill in Congress to kind of do that though?
Yes, there's a bill in Congress. There's a John McCain bill, but
Yeah.
the Xbox One is not.
It's not a cable box.
A cable box has nothing to do with it. In fact, it needs a cable box to be
It works
piggybacked
in
on.
conjunction with your current cable system. And the thing is, we don't know what cable subscribers it's actually going to work with. They haven't come out and said.
Yeah,
they
only
they
one they've
demoed
mentioned-
Verizon.
They've demoed Verizon. They've demoed Comcast.
Yeah, they demoed Verizon in the thing, and the Comcast thing must have come later. But it just seems like, okay, this is a very U.S.-centric press conference, right? Like, we don't know what partnerships they have in Europe or Japan or Australia or anywhere.
But I don't think they care either.
Well, Europe, they were talking about this on another show this week, and they were saying, Europe was a battleground, right? Like, the PS3 came from behind in Europe after so long.
Yeah.
So they really kind of want to make up the ground in Europe. Japan, yeah, I mean, it's coming out in Japan, but I don't think they're really concerned with that market as a whole.
No, I think they know. I think Microsoft has once bitten, twice shy.
Yeah.
I think they've understood.
That, Japan is not going to be a big seller for them. They'll probably ship 10, 15,000 units over there, and that's it. You may not see any more.
Well, at the launch. That and cable isn't a really big pickup in Japan either, which is surprisingly weird considering they're so densely populated. Anyway, so there was confusion over that. There was confusion over whether or not the EA Sports would be exclusive this next generation to the Xbox.
Yeah, they didn't say
That is how they made it sound.
Yeah.
But then right afterwards, once that rumor got out, EA came out and kind of squashed it. And said, no, Madden will be on everything. What they're getting is like Kinect-enabled audibles.
Yeah, they're getting very specific Microsoft-like things, and
the same Kinect-enabled stuff that you've already seen on the 360 is going to be the exclusive
you're gonna
stuff you're getting on the Xbox.
Yeah, you're going to see it on the next box. Whatever. I'm still going to call it the next box.
Did you see there's a very distinct list of things you can and cannot call it?
Yeah. You can't call it the One. You can't call it the X.
You can't call it X. You can't call it X1. You can't call it X Bone. You can't. And it stinks very highly of we need to walk this back.
Yeah, I don't like that name. I mean, they had to stick with the Xbox name, but they could have found a better way to do it, I think.
Yeah.
I think
it builds...
720 is still a goofy name, but it was probably better than One.
This builds confusion in off the bat.
Oh, yeah.
And the other thing is...
I mean, didn't they learn from Nintendo with the Wii U?
I guess not. The other thing is, the reason they went with 360 originally was because Xbox 2 versus the PS3 wasn't going to be as good.
Yeah.
So now they feel that they're in a better marketplace position, so they can do that.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, if I were Sony, I would be like, screw it, whatever slogan we thought we were going to do, well, it's now to the power of 4. Or 4 times.
Yeah.
4 times the extent, 4 times, and it's just like...
Yeah.
Xbox kind of
slow
pitched that one in.
I mean, it's whatever they want to do.
But the other thing is, before we get ragging on Microsoft...
Before you start ragging on Microsoft.
From Sony's position or Nintendo's position. Sorry, my allergies are crazy.
Yeah.
This event wasn't for us.
No, this was for, and I
don't
think,
know who this event was for, but it wasn't for us.
I think Patrick Klepek at Giant Bomb put it the best way that I've seen so far is it was for bros with families.
Yeah, but bros with families is an extremely small market, and they're not at home at 10 o'clock on a Tuesday morning.
Probably not, no.
Yes.
I mean, I think, but, Spike probably re-showed it 4 or 5 times. No? They only showed it the one time?
They did a live broadcast.
Oh, wow.
If they showed it again, it was at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Oh. Huh, I assume Spike would have shown it at least 2 or 3 more times.
Spike probably has better things to show, like that weird-ass show that was on before.
The 1,000 Ways to Die or whatever. God, that show was so terrible.
So if you didn't watch it on Spike, you don't know this, but the lead-in was this 1,000 Ways to Die, or 10,000 Ways to Die.
Yeah, it was really goofy.
And the last segment of this was this dude at a hotel that would pleasure himself on the sheets.
He conned himself into getting a room because he was like a health inspector.
And then he said he was a health inspector, and he would bring the people and they're like, "Oh, my hotel is clean, it's clean, it's clean," and he would turn on his black light and then scream, "Semen!"
Well, that's what they showed.
That's
in
what
the
they
recreation.
showed, and I just sat there thinking, man, if I was the people at Microsoft, if I was PR people at Microsoft, I would
not have let that happen.
Legitimately pissed.
Yeah,
I
indeed.
would be throwing things.
That was a really bad lead-in for that.
And then the flip side is, as kind of evident of this event not being for gamers, in the lead up to the PlayStation event, we had every day you had the legacy of the PS1 video,
they had the legacy
of PS2,
videos.
PSP, the Vita, the PS3, the next generation, all this stuff looking forward. And then boom, on the final day, the hype was, well, like we said before, hype builds until it doesn't.
Yeah.
But hype was at its peak.
Well, I mean, and
this was kind of like, we're not talking about it, we're not talking about it, we're not talking about it.
Well, no, to be fair,
we get out on Twitter and we say, blah, 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 blah. You'll be really excited for what we're going to show. You'll be really excited for what we're going to show. You'll be really excited for what we're going to show. And then they showed stuff, and no one was excited.
Well, they did do a very similar thing. Like if you went to the Xbox website in the week prior, they did kind of do a history of the Xbox. And they talked about the development cycle of the original Xbox and how it was going to be like the direct Xbox. And they worked it up into the name that it is now. And then, the development cycle of the 360 and what kind of happened to make it do what it did.
So why didn't that stuff show up on like IGN and
I don't know.
Kotaku,
I didn't see any because they weren't videos. They were just articles.
Oh,
they were it was just like articles like that. And yeah, they could have put a little bit more, manpower behind it.
This whole thing wasn't about gamers.
No,
this was about Microsoft saying, Apple TV,
we're looking at you. Yeah. I think, most of what was shown was how you're going to use your Xbox as a whole home entertainment system, not necessarily just for gaming.
Yes. A whole third of the press conference had gone away before they had mentioned gaming.
Yeah, I mean, they showed Forza on the screen real early when
but we still don't know what that is.
That's Forza 5 or something.
I mean, but it's not gameplay footage.
No, none of it is gameplay footage. That was one of the big things that really pissed me off about this thing. It was you didn't have any live gameplay demos.
After the whole Sony thing a couple of years ago with the pre-rendered target.
Yeah, you think they would have figured that?
We're totally watching.
But they didn't. Didn't Sony portray it as there was a guy playing on the stage, and it really wasn't a guy playing on the stage? He just had a controller in his hand. He was doing stuff. Because that's kind of what
I don't remember that.
Okay.
I remember them showing a lot of the stuff and me going, wow, MotorStorm looks really awesome. And then me getting MotorStorm and going, well, it still looks awesome, but not
as good as that did. But yeah, I mean, that was one of the things. There was no live gameplay demos. They didn't have a guy come out with a controller in his hand and you saw what he saw when he was playing the game. Yeah. Sony did that on
multiple occasions.
3 or 4 of their different games, right? Because they showed Cerny playing Knack. They showed some dude playing.
They showed Hurst playing Killzone Shadowfall.
Yeah.
They didn't show any of Drive Club. Didn't show anyone playing Drive Club.
No, they just showed.
They showed Duder playing that Witness game.
Duder, Jonathan Blow.
Jonathan Blow.
There was live gameplay footage that they did not have at the Xbox thing. They did have like a big expose about EA's new engine that they're using for all the Xbox One games.
But they're also using it for the PlayStation 3.
But they will also be using it for that. But that was the big thing they revealed, their new engine.
Sports. And I can watch NFL on my TV while playing Madden, while doing my fantasy football league
stuff while you're watching.
While looking up recipes for those little cocktail weenies, while getting on Facebook to invite everyone to.
And don't worry, there'll be ads along the bottom.
Yeah, to invite everyone to watch the game with me on Sunday, while slowly bleeding out of my nose because my brain has fried itself.
No, you can't quite do that much. I read a thing that said, when you have a game, like if you're playing Madden, right? Mm-hmm. If you have a game full screen, it gets all the resources of your system. When you scrunch it down, it gets like a percentage of that. It gets like 75% when it takes up, half the screen.
That's a very good thing that you said that, because I've read something that's totally different.
Really?
Yeah.
This was just something.
That's just amazing, because that shows how poorly Microsoft.
Yeah, we really don't know a lot about how this system works, how it's
I've read that 3 gigs of the memory
is dedicated to the thing. No, I meant like the processing time on the 8 cores.
I know. But 3 gigs of the memory at all times is dedicated to the OS.
The 3 operating systems that are running in conjunction with each other.
Okay, so that was another weird thing. There are 3 operating systems. One of them runs games, one of them runs everything else, and then there's one that talks between the 2 of them.
Yes.
So my understanding is the one that runs everything else always has 3 gigs.
No, I think it's 3 gigs combined, like for all of the OSs. But like the one that runs everything else is basically Windows 8, is what they've said. They said it came out and they said it's the Windows 8 kernel. So it's basically running Windows 8 in your living room, which is kind of cool when you think about it. And the fact that then Windows 8 games are going to, or Xbox One games are basically running on a PC, which means hopefully we'll get better PC ports no?
Xbox and Microsoft has come out and said there will not be ports of Xbox One games onto the PC.
Not exclusives anyway.
Yeah, do not look forward to it.
Third-party games,
yeah,
we're definitely going to come out.
Third-party, all that stuff.
But I mean, from third parties, we may get
you might not see
better
Halo
ports.
5.
Well, you're not going to see Halo 5 on the PC at all. You're not going to see. You haven't seen anything but Halo since Halo 2. So, which Halo Wars would have been really good on the PC.
Anyway, so Microsoft has done an excellent job of muddying the waters when it comes to their new device.
Yeah, and
About like very specific things that they should have, well, the PR person should have seen coming. The first one of those is the used game argument.
yeah, we've heard like 8 or 9 different things. We heard at first it wouldn't play them at all, and then we heard okay, but now there's a fee associated with it, and that fee could be anywhere between $5 and probably $30.
No, 5 and the cost of the game.
$5 to $60.
Yes.
And then we heard, well, that fee is not going to be paid by consumers; it'll be paid by the company that buys the game back from you. So your GameStops, your vintage stocks,
I've heard
things
something
like
very
that.
different anyway.
Well, that's just it. We don't know.
So eventually Microsoft came out on a Saturday, which is very weird, and said, "Hey guys, so here's how it's gonna go supposedly," because after GameStop's stock
dropped,
spent the rest of the week in free fall. They
Poor
said
GameStop.
that basically, you have a disc, you buy a game.
Yeah.
You take your disc home, it installs to the hard drive. You no longer need that disc in the drive.
Yes.
The disc is merely a data delivery device.
Yes.
The Xbox One needs to connect to the internet to authenticate the data on your hard drive.
Once a day, I think is what
once
they said.
day. But they're still saying that's up in the air. They could.
It could be every 12 hours. It could be every week.
On the low end, I've heard it had to be on. It checked every 3 minutes. Like,
which is basically always on, and that
which is one of the other things that they had a
that we've
problem with.
heard, and if they have to authenticate,
The
at
PR
least
person should have known.
Yeah.
Like, if the person didn't have their head in the sand or up their own ass, they should have been like, guys, during this Xbox event, even though we're not talking to gamers, the 2 questions they're going to want answered are A and B. Like, is it
used
always,
games and always
yeah,
on.
Is it always on? Will it play used games? So now they've said that you can sell the data.
You sell the disc.
You can sell the disc back to somebody, back to GameStop, and they will authenticate the data, which then the next time you log into Xbox One Live, deletes it from your
I think
hard
it's just
drive.
still called Xbox Live. I don't think they've made it One Live yet.
Anyway, so it then deletes it from your hard drive and reactivates that CD key so that it can be resold.
So somebody else can then do it.
As someone who has dealt with digital rights before, and specifically consumer rights and the right of businesses, Microsoft just painted a giant target on their back.
Well, yeah. And
because are these authentication systems, is GameStop going to have them? Are they going to be affordable for other retailers? Your small mom and pop shops, your regionals?
yeah, you'd have to think like,
Best Buys, all this stuff.
Best Buys and GameStops would probably have it, and any third-party markets that exist outside of the U.S. that I don't know. Game and whatever they have in Canada and
eBay, EB.
EB games still.
They still
They
have
still have eBays? Man, we got to go to Canada.
They still have EBs. So anyway, if those large retailers get these things at even what could be seen as preferential treatment, Microsoft would open themselves up to giant class action lawsuits.
Yeah, because
from the smaller regional and mom and pop shops saying they're basically trying to kick us out of this game, which Microsoft totally is.
Yeah, but I mean, even then, if that's the case, if Microsoft's doing that, and I understand that there are people who make a living. There's a guy that lives, 10 minutes from my house, who he has a little game co, and he runs his business out of this little shop. And if he has to buy a 15 or tens of thousands of dollars authentication system so that he can unlock Xbox One games, that would ruin him. He wouldn't be able to afford it. So then he'd either have to become a vintage shop or only deal in Wii U and PS4 games.
Yeah. And the flip side of all this is, of course, Microsoft then takes a chunk of that sale, when the used game sale goes to the publisher, goes to Microsoft.
Yes.
which actually fixes a problem with used games where the largest guy in the market, GameStop, is making reams and reams of money while everyone else is getting scraps off this thing.
Yeah.
The flip side of all this is, and don't fool yourself,
There's
if Microsoft does this, Sony's going to do this.
They could, yes, very well.
There is
Very
no
easily.
third-party publisher in the world that is dumb enough to go, well, Microsoft is blocking these used game things, but Sony's not, and I'm not going to make any money off the used games on a Sony console. I'm going to give them preferential treatment. I mean, that's just... It's business sense. Now, if Sony comes out and says, we're not doing anything with used games, like it's going to work how it always works, I will be shocked. And
well, I mean...
And it will be a moment where probably in 12 years, when we look back, when did Microsoft lose that console generation? We'll say that's probably the fight that happened.
Well, yeah.
Like when the Super Nintendo really didn't build up speed for a long time after the whole Mortal Kombat Blood thing.
Yeah, it did.
We'll look back and we'll say, yeah, that's the moment where Sony said, screw publishers and developers and the industry. Our customers want this, and we're a customer company. But I highly doubt that's going to happen.
Well, but I mean, the problem with that is, and I know, from what I understand, somebody at Sony has said you can play games, you never have to get online.
Yes.
So them doing what you're saying, as far as not requiring authentication for stuff, is totally in line with everything we've heard so far.
Yeah.
And then if they flip that switch and they say, oh, well, now you have to authenticate once a week or 2 times a week, then that totally goes out the window.
Well,
and people will then be less likely, I would think, less likely to buy a PS3, because I like the fact that I never have to put my Xbox online if I don't want to. I never have to put my PS3 online if I don't want to.
Yep.
And it was like that for a long time too, because it's not like the NES had a modem in it where we could get online and authenticate our cartridge. But that was 30 years ago. So.
Yes, it was. But with the Sony thing, one of the things that Sony could do is just have these legitimate check kiosks in GameStops and say, GameStop, when you sell these things, you need to give us a cut of the profit.
Yeah, and maybe that's a new deal with, them being able to sell games is, at $5 from every sale of your, 5% or 10% of every sale
let's be honest here.
goes back to the publishers.
We're not talking about like the used game market where a game that was $60 2 years ago is now $10. We're talking about the used game market where it came out on Tuesday, it is $5 cheaper on Friday.
Well,
That
I
is
mean,
a problem.
you could buy a used copy of the game on launch day, because they just open them up, take all the stuff out, and then put it on the shelf, because they know they will sell more copies of the used game for $5
That's the problem.
less. I mean, they got new games all the time.
Yeah, that is the problem. And it's a problem that is killing this industry, and it's a problem that is going to kill GameStop if the industry ever wises up to it.
Well, yeah.
Losing 20% of your stock in 5 days is a pretty good indicator that you were not entirely healthy on your own.
No.
So anyway, so that happened. So then the other thing was always on. Is it always on? How often does it need to authenticate? Once again, these are two giant
Big
roadblocks
questions
that the PR people should have seen coming, and we had tons and tons of different answers. We had answers from it has to be on and check in every 3 minutes, to it has to be on and check in once a week, to it has to be on and check in on 24 hours, to we're going to sell special Xbox Unlock codes so it doesn't have to check in if you're a serviceman or if you're living abroad or something.
Yeah. Which that seems like a good idea. It's like even if it has to authenticate every X number of units of time, if you have a universal unlock thing, people might just buy that and then never put their Xbox online.
Yeah, but
I mean, unless it's going to cost you like $200 or something.
The wording of this was that it would be in special cases.
Cases.
The normal Joe on the street wouldn't be able to buy it, but like maybe they're sold at PXs on Army bases, stuff like that. But also not good.
No. Well,
but Microsoft wants this to be an always connected box so that you can do things like watch Star Trek while watching The Price is Right, while playing Forza 3.
I don't think you can do all those things at once.
While getting tickets to Star Trek Into Darkness so that you can see how much it sucks compared to Wrath of Khan. It's very weird, and the messaging was very bad around the board, and especially when 3 months ago, Sony came out and said, the PlayStation is for play, it is a game machine, it is for gamers, here are the games, and they're kind of acting like, of course it'll do Netflix, of course it'll do Hulu. Like,
Yeah.
why wouldn't it?
But I mean, Microsoft is going for a whole home entertainment system. They want you to be able to do all of your, TV stuff off of their system.
Yes.
And, if it has to use your cable box, it has to use your cable box. Now, does it work with satellite providers? That's another thing that they didn't say anything about.
I mean, ideally, if it's just an HDMI in, you can control, the Xbox One could control anything that you plug into an HDMI with the DCHP protocol.
Yeah,
in it.
they could. That makes sense that they would do that, but...
Why? Who wants this? Who needs this? Definitely not the people on the internet that are fuming right now.
And obviously not you.
No,
I see the point in them doing it.
For when we said this when we watched it together. Like, the only thing Microsoft will succeed if they convince me to not go out and pre-order a PS4 before I know what the price is.
Well, E3's in like 2 or 3 weeks, right?
2 weeks.
Less than 2 weeks, or about 2 weeks. That's they're going to announce a lot of stuff at E3.
That's what they say.
Well, and they've said that there's they said that there's a future of the Xbox 360 there, which means they're probably going to have an Xbox 360 Mini that's supposed to compete with the Apple TV, sort of. It's going to be like a $99 Xbox, no strings attached type deal. And what makes me think that they're going to come out with that is, like you said, you can control anything from an Xbox One as long as it goes through the HDMI in, right?
Well, almost anything. DHCP protocols are pretty restrictive,
but maybe they can finagle a way around that.
Well, yeah, but you wouldn't be able to do a controller input through the HDMI.
Well,
that's complicated enough. Like, you can turn stuff on, you can change channels
and things like that. But they're coming out with this. Maybe they might be. I've heard rumors of this Xbox Mini.
It'd be neat on top of the Xbox.
That would be.
That's the one you're talking
that's
about.
what I would be concerned that they're going to come out with, and that would be cool.
Plugs into your Xbox One that basically is all the guts of an Xbox 360
and plays all the Xbox 360 games, but then you can control it through your Xbox One. That would be. I mean, maybe it would just have a USB in as well.
Yes.
Like you could just plug it in through USB.
On top of purchasing your $200 to $300 plus subscription Xbox One, you then purchase a $99 Xbox 360 add-on.
Maybe. And then that would be for people who, don't have an Xbox 360.
I mean, they've already said, Don Matrick, who is... I like Jack Tretton because he always seems like he's surly and drunk. And I like Don Matrick because he always seems like he has no clue what's going on around him. Every time he opens his mouth, he says stuff to people, and I'm like, well, did you not think about how that would be perceived when you said it?
Did he Molyneux it up?
Yeah, he said if you're backwards compatible, you're basically backwards.
Yeah, and
it's like, did you not think that you had an audience that has spent 7 years at this point buying Xbox 360 games? That's even if they're only going to use them 5% of the time. I have used my PS2 games that often, but the option is there.
Yeah, but Sony's also said we don't have backwards compatibility built in. They do have the Gaikai system that they've got, and that might be their way of doing backwards compatibility.
Yes, but they didn't say that if you want backwards compatibility,
you are backwards. But
that is the difference.
Yes, I know. But maybe they're thinking forward. They're thinking, okay, well, we can at some point we can migrate all of these Xbox Live Arcade games that people like over to the new system because it's basically a Windows environment.
But indies won't be able to self-publish. No,
they won't. And that's the other thing. They kind of didn't say anything about the indie developments.
And then we found out later they're not able to self-publish, and now indie developers are like, "Screw you guys!
We're out. We're going to Sony.
You've been dicks to us for the last 4 years, and it doesn't seem to be changing. And meanwhile, Sony is putting out Punch and Cookies.
Yeah, well, cake, pie, and ice cream.
And it's very clear that if I were the PR guy, a lot of mistakes were made. But if I were the PR guy, and I knew we didn't have a lot of games to show, and I knew we weren't going to show any games, I would say that this will be the Xbox event you want if you are not a gamer, and wait for E3 for the games. Just like a couple years ago, Nintendo said, we have so many games to show you, we're not going to show you any of them. We have so many games, we're going to show you 5. What? No, that's not what...
Well, and
they did... two contradictory statements.
They did say in the Xbox press conference, because I watched it again...
We have 15 exclusives coming in the first year. 8 of them are new IPs. Great, give me a name. Any of them.
Here's the deal, right? They did this event within 3 weeks of E3. If they announce half of those games, then they now have half as much stuff to talk
I'm
about.
not saying announce half of the games. I'm saying
give you 2.
sizzle reel or show me anything.
Yeah.
Show me. Tell me
Well,
like,
all
hey
the-
guys,
we
know that you know that we know that you know that we're working on the next Halo 5. So when we show you this
Halo
weird
TV
announcement
show?
of a Halo TV show, we're going to end it with like
15 seconds
yeah,
of Master Chief
fif-
shooting aliens.
15 seconds 15 seconds would be enough. We'll show you a sneak preview of the preview that we're actually going to show you in 3 weeks.
Well, and
They do it for movies all the time. There's teasers for trailers.
Yeah. Yeah, I went and saw
A good example is the Call of Duty Ghost people. They're
Yeah.
like, here's a Call of Duty Ghost trailer. We're going to have gameplay at E3.
Yeah, and they did that.
And yes, and Microsoft should have to.
Uh,
Anytime Activision is the smartest part of your press conference, you're not leading on the right foot.
something's bad. something smells wrong. But I mean,
So maybe we're going to get all 15 of these games at E3.
you probably get about 8 or 9 of them.
I don't think we're going to get 8 or 9. I think you're going to get 5 and be happy about it.
Well, I mean,
I think if it's a game system and we're talking to the gamers and the game press, you know,
I don't think Microsoft's primary focus
the
with this new system
I know. But
is...
you invited the IGNs, the GameStops, the Giant Bombs. The
Yeah, they
GameSpots,
invited all these games outlets, all these guys that talk about games.
All these people that are enthusiastic about games, whose life is built on games, who all they do all day is talk about games.
Yes.
We invited all you guys. We put you in the front row, and guess what? You.
Yeah, you don't... We
Here's
talked about...
Star Trek, and The Price is Right, and EA, and you'll be able to do fantasy football leagues. Don't you all love your fantasy football leagues? Or don't you all have fantasy football league infrastructure you already use through Yahoo Sports or ESPN or any of the legitimately other fantasy
Tens
football league things?
of thousands.
Where you've already spent so much time building up your fantasy football league, but you're going to want to bring it to Xbox because you can do it while you watch TV.
Well, if they've already got ESPN, they're set.
Even though you can do it while you watch TV now.
On a tablet.
On a tablet.
Well,
That's the end-all, be-all of the whole reason, and we'll discuss this for a little bit, because this is the... They didn't show games, but I understand you're going to show games later. I'm going to focus on why this one sucked. This device sucks, and how you showed us how to use this device sucks, because you are willfully ignorant of how people live and work in their living rooms right now. I work in TV. All we talk about is second screen. We don't talk about... Oh, that other shitty part of the screen you're already watching, so that you shrink back the thing you're watching, so that you get a sliver on the side.
they have said that a lot of those features could be ported over to your Microsoft Surface, or not the Surface, the Microsoft. What the hell is it called?
Smart Glass?
The Smart Glass of the app, right?
Yes.
I had put Smart Glass on my tablet just so I could see what it's like, and it is kind of neat. You can do the same stuff that you can do with an iPad and an Apple TV, or a smart TV and a tablet with this on the Xbox, which, great, you can do it now. If you don't have a smart TV, you don't have a Wi-Fi enabled TV, you can do this.
There are literally
Hundreds.
of other options that work
Yes.
better and save more screen real estate than what Microsoft is pitching.
Yes, I understand. But
my response
this is
was
this is them showing how their machine is going to multitask. And you know, if you don't like it, you don't like it. You're not going to buy one anyway. So it's, you know, you're
This
just...
only cemented the fact that I'm not going to buy one.
Well, there was no... What? It was 3/4 dry when the thing started.
No, when they started showing the cable integration, I was like, that is really cool.
There's some cool
being able
stuff.
to talk and say Xbox, you know, Nickelodeon or Xbox, Sci-Fi
CBS
Channel.
or, yeah, whatever. That's kind of cool, but, you know, you could just as
But
easily
that's
put in the
not
numbers.
worth, you know, $200 plus however much subscription they want to pay. Or,
If you have to be on Xbox Live Gold and so on and so forth. Yeah, I understand all that.
which they didn't talk about at all. They're going to have Xbox Live Gold, and you're going to pay for it.
Yeah, you're going to
They've
have to
already
pay
said
for
that
it.
in
And they don't know what the, I don't know what the silver
Your
level
360
entails.
Gold will carry over, which is nice to hear. They
Yeah,
don't have
so,
to do that.
you know, one account for both boxes, because I know they're going to keep popping games out for the 360 for at least another year or two.
Yes.
Same with the PS3. They're going to keep making games for that for a couple more
Yeah,
years.
I think this cross-generational gap will be a lot longer than it was before.
Well, and there's this talk of, do we call it cross-gen or split-gen or whatever? It doesn't matter.
Cross-generation.
Or dual generation, maybe?
Yeah. Cross-gen is probably the best.
Because you're crossing two generations. and-
Split generation's different, and then dual generation, they're not really going on at the same time.
Split-gen is if you consider the Wii U part of last gen.
Anyway, so the thing is, the people that like Xbox now Okay, the
Yeah.
people that are Xbox fans, they like things like Call of Duty.
They
and
like
Halo,
sports games and Halo.
and Madden, and Gears of War, and all these other things.
Well, they showed out of the 4 things you
Yes.
just talked about. They showed 3 of those at this thing. They didn't show live gameplay, but they did talk
They
about.
showed Call of Duty.
They showed Call of Duty.
They didn't show Halo.
No, they talked
didn't
about
show
the
Gears
Halo
of War.
game
Yeah,
or the
they
Halo
didn't-
show.
They didn't show you shit you wanted to see. What they showed you is a kind of sort of logo.
They showed you Halo and hey, we're making a TV show out
Yeah,
of
they
it.
showed the Halo, and then it said "Wake Up, John," and they gave you no information about
Yeah.
it except Steven Spielberg is producing it.
And people who watched the web series probably would love to watch a Arrested Development style online, exclusive on Xbox exclusive content like that.
Yes.
They would also.
Although apparently it's not going to be Xbox exclusive. Apparently you'll be able to watch it
You probably watch it
on
online.
CBS.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Why would you watch it? I don't know if that will fly for very long.
Well, it's the cross. They want that audience.
I guess.
That's the point. They know they have the Xbox audience.
Yeah, they have the Xbox audience.
So here's the difference. Sony said, we made a mistake with the cell architecture. We're not where we were at this time with the PS2 going into the PS3. The PS3 is kind of lagging, and we need to make up steam, and we're going to do that by doubling down on what we know is important. And we're going to do that. What we're doubling down on is gamers.
Well, yeah.
And what we're doubling down on is the people that like things like Killzone and Ratchet and Clank and Knack
Infamous and all
and
that.
all these other things. And that they're really cool. They will get excited about other games that are like Gran Turismo, that are like this, that are like that. And we're going to show them how our system is going to be the place that you play games the next 10 years.
Yeah. And
Microsoft, however, said, screw those guys.
no.
We're going to get to them second.
They want to say, this is where you're going to play games and watch TV and listen to music and do this and do that.
They talked about movies, music, TV, this and that well before they talked about playing games.
Yes.
And I think that is a mistake.
But they were not.
It is.
Yeah, it is.
I mean,
They should have. They know that their core market is gamers, right? Like
Yes.
that is their core
and
market.
they're just assuming that they're going to follow them, which is the exact same thing Sony did with the PS2 when Sony came out with the PS3 and said, $600, you're going to want to work hard for it. That was a mistake.
Wow.
That was a mistake they learned from.
We'll have to see what Microsoft puts out at E3 as far as games and other announcements with new hardware, so on and so forth.
Everyone that's saying you're going to see all these games.
I'm not saying you're going to
to
see 30 games out of Microsoft, right? That's not going to happen. You're not going to see 30 games out of Sony, probably. You'll see logos for probably 25 games, but you will only see footage for 8 or 9, and then they'll have kiosks and stuff set up there that you'll be able to hear reviews of people playing these games.
Maybe.
And it'll be similar with Microsoft, probably. They will probably
remember-
show off 5 or 6 games during the conference itself, and then they'll have the kiosks and the
Remember
logo
this
wall.
time a year ago where Sony said we're going to have 10 exclusives on the Vita?
Yes.
And most of those ended up being PSN games and indie games?
Yeah, but those are still exclusives to the Vita.
Yes. That's what you're going to see. You're going to see Microsoft with the smaller games. They're going to have 1 or 2 Gears of War, Halo, that is, everyone's going to go, wow. But they've made it very clear, leading on this foot, that gamers are not their priority with this system. Which is true. If I were marketing a giant system that needed to sell billions and billions of units, I would say, well, our gamer market, our addressable gamer market is really only 100 million units, 150 million
They
units.
looked at what people do with their Xbox right now, right? So with their Xbox, most people use Netflix and Sony too.
Yep.
A lot of people use their PS3s for Netflix.
Leading platform, which is very
And
weird.
Halo, or Hulu, not Halo. They use their systems to watch movies, watch TV. Xbox has the added advantage of having a partnership with ESPN, so then you can watch live sports on their Xbox.
Supposedly.
No, I think you can do that now with the Xbox 360.
I thought as of right now it was all tape delay.
Okay, it might be delayed like 10 minutes or something.
No, I mean like...
You watch it later whenever.
Later. Like
But
the game
you
is
can't-
over and you are watching it.
You really can't watch a lot of live sports on the PSN unless you pay a bunch more. Like I think the NFL or
well,
the
NFL season pass, MLB
and-
TV.
Yeah, those
NHL
were both
season
like
ticket.
$100 plus.
Yeah, but that's across. That's what those things run across the board.
I think it's part of. No, I don't know. I don't watch sports on my thing, but they look at what they use their systems for, and they said, okay, they watch sports and they watch, Hulu stuff and they watch Netflix stuff. So why don't we build a box that does all that stuff natively, and it will work with their cable box, and it will play games. I think that's the idea that Microsoft built the new Xbox on. And Sony, we don't know what their non-gaming media. I don't know what their non-gaming media plans are, but I assume it doesn't involve
Netflix,
watching live
Hulu.
TV.
I highly doubt it involves
and,
watching live TV.
You know, being able to do all this other stuff, you know, multi-screen things.
Yes.
Like where you can, you know, pause your game for whatever reason so you can flip over and watch CBS without having to change inputs on your TV. Which, that's not a huge deal for me because I don't really care about
That's not a
switching.
huge deal for anybody.
Well, some people it
That's
might be.
something that you've been able to do since we had AV switchers.
Yes, but some people it might be, and you know, it's a convenience thing, right? Like this is very much a. I don't want to say this, but this is the first thing that came to my mind when I saw this is, hey, it's too much work to pick up a remote and change your settings. So why don't you just yell at your TV and say, Xbox, CBS?
Yeah.
You know.
And I think going into this first year of this console generation, when these both launch at this holiday,
Which, yeah, they both said that it's going to come out later this year, and they didn't say when specifically.
with what we have right now,
Yeah, I'm thinking early November, late October.
yeah. But with what we have right now, if supply chains are open for both of them, there's no shortages, or there's no extended shortages.
And the price points are very similar.
The price points are similar. Microsoft dies. With what we have right now, because
Well, and then that's just it. Like
people that game are the people that go out and buy $500
systems
graphics cards
the day they come out.
Yes.
Yeah, people like me who, if I made another 15 grand a year, I would totally buy. You know, I would have gone and bought a GT 680 Titan video card and put it in my PC. That's a $1,000 video card. It's almost as big as my laptop.
We've talked about it before. Your early adopting suckers.
Yes,
Your early adopting suckers don't want to watch CBS.
because they can already do it, and they could probably do it for free because they're stealing their cable or something.
Yes. Your early adopting suckers are the ones that go, you know what? That Sony press conference looked really cool. Your early adopting suckers are the ones that say,
Well, lucky for
your early
Microsoft,
adopting suckers don't play Madden.
some of them do.
I imagine there is a
A
sizable
small
portion,
percentage.
but by and large, your early adopting suckers don't play Madden. They'll play Call of Duty.
They will wait until Madden or Call of Duty come out. Luckily for them, the Call of Duty comes out probably within 2 weeks of these
I'm
systems launching.
sure.
But, you know, it's just lucky for Microsoft that they've got another press conference in 2 weeks or 3
Yes.
weeks to throw out a whole bunch of new stuff and a whole more reason.
Hopefully, because we talked about it last time, that since these are coming so closely together, I don't know how much you can differentiate what you're offering at
They would
one
have to
versus
show
what you're offering at another.
exclusives. That's the thing. They have to show system exclusives, and they would have to show, you know,
You can't show Forza. You can't show Quantum Break. You can't show
because you've already showed them.
because you already showed them.
But that's just it.
Unless you have a gameplay trailer.
They didn't really show them. They just showed
do you have gameplay? of Forza?
pre-rendered cutscenes from these
Yeah,
things.
but that's the point. Is that if you get a guy on stage and he starts playing Forza, people are going to go, "We just saw that 2 weeks ago."
Yeah.
Just legitimately, like, granted, you're
Well,
gameplaying it now.
And for a lot of the footage they showed of Forza looked a lot like what they showed of Drive Club, where they went into real close on the car to show the detail and all that. I'm like, okay, so Drive Club and Forza are going to be the head-to-heads.
Yeah.
But what about when GT6 comes out and it just blows all these away? But GT6 won't be out for at least another 8 years.
No, GT6 is going to be on the PS3 this fall.
Is that 5 or 6?
6. Apparently you missed that
GT7.
trailer. Yeah, GT7.
GT7 will be out in 10 years.
That's been Forza's problem forever, is that Forza has this giant Xbox market, and they can't sell as many as Gran Turismo because they're not Gran Turismo.
But it is, and I played both, right? Like I've played both current generation
both
games for a little while.
simulator
They're
racing
driving
games.
simulator games,
But
but
it's not my cup of tea.
Forza has a lot more silly fun stuff you can do, I think. But
A lot of this is you can't show Forza because people just saw
we
that.
just saw that.
You can't show Quantum Break because people just saw that.
Yeah.
So
So
Halo 5.
they may show some Halo. They said they have new IPs in the works, so maybe they'll bust out 2 or 3
But
of
are
those.
those new IPs system sellers?
Maybe we don't know. We don't know what the new IPs are.
That's
They could
true.
be anything.
Think of a new
And
IP
Rare's
that
coming back with
launched-
something.
Think of a new IP that launched this console generation as a system seller.
A new IP.
A new IP.
I'd say Heavy Rain probably sold a decent amount because
No,
it was,
launched.
Oh, launch title. I don't
Yeah.
know the launch titles for either of those systems.
Well, I would say Resistance.
Sold you, but no,
Well, but
there was
it was-
Resistance games on the PS2, was there not?
No, there's not. Resistance came out on the PS3 and was the high-end seller at the PS3 launch.
What was the one?
The high-end seller at the Xbox 360 launch was Perfect Dark Zero.
That's a Rare game.
Yeah.
I love Rare. Rare's coming back too. They're gonna have something.
Supposedly. Everyone's like, oh, Killer Instinct's coming back. Like, you guys do realize that Rare basically sucks at making games, right? Like, there's a spot in between the latter part of the Super Nintendo and the end of the N64.
It's not all the same
where
guys
they
at Rare
did,
now.
I know, but where they did really quality games.
Yeah.
But they have a 40-year hit, 40 years at this point, 40-year history, going back into the 70s, where they really sucked at making games.
Yeah, they did. But, I'm just excited that,
they're like,
maybe they're going to make it,
maybe
they're going to make a new Killer Instinct.
Killer Instinct could be coming back, or it could be grabbed by the Ghoulies too.
It could be. It could totally be that.
It's like...
That'd be neat. That'd be neat. It's a 360 or an Xbox One launch title. It's grabbed by the Ghoulies too.
So the point is your launch titles as new IP don't sell systems. Because people don't know them yet.
Yeah, but we know that Modern Warfare or Call of Duty sells a shitload of units every time it comes out.
Well, unless it's on the Wii U.
Well, yeah. Almost every time it comes out. Every time they come out with a new one, a bunch sell for all the different systems.
So
Microsoft
is betting,
if it comes out around the launch, within a month of the launch, probably sooner, that there are going to be people who will buy the system just to play the best looking version of it.
That will also be on PS4.
That will also be on Xbox Live, so they have all their buddies to play with.
But they can't, because you can't do cross-generational gameplay on
This
Xbox
is true.
Live. So if you buy an Xbox One and the Xbox One version of Call of Duty, you can only play with other Xbox One characters.
Yes.
That name
But
sucks.
I do not like that. You could call it the One, but then you have to call the PS4 the 4, and then you got the 1 and the 4 and U, which is no good. Yeah.
If that was the argument, if that argument held
if they came out and said 343
all,
Games is putting out a Halo 5 this Christmas, people would lose their freaking minds.
Yes, that a Halo 5 will
But
sell.
with Halo 4 coming out within, it's been less than a year since Halo 4 came out, right?
Yeah, it came out last Christmas.
There's no way they could have pushed another Halo 5 out and had it be as good as that. Now, maybe they had their B team working on Halo 4, and that's what their B team puts out.
Apparently, the new Call of Duty is running on the last Call of Duty's engine, so even the new next generation one is just an up converted version.
I thought they said they made a new engine for Ghosts.
Yeah, but it's same engine on PS4, Xbox One, Xbox 360, Wii U, and PS3.
Well, I mean that's going to happen for a little while.
Yes.
So, but I think I thought I had read that they were making it.
Is it going to be that amazing to see it on the Xbox One when the Xbox 360 is right next to it and it has all your friends already, and you don't need to spend however much you need to spend? Because remember when I said you weren't going to see a price?
Because we're not going to see a price until the other one blinks.
I love being right.
We knew there wasn't going to be a price and there wasn't going to be a release date. There would be a release window.
I think
they won't show a price, but they did show the box. They showed the box, the controller, and the new Kinect.
You could see a price for both of these consoles at E3.
I mean, they almost would have to put up they almost have to now.
What?
Put a price out at E3, like both of them, because it's like, okay, we've got less than 6 months
People
to launch.
need to start saving.
Oh, I've been saving. I've been, and every time I buy games from eBay or garage sales, yes, I understand. I'm saving. I'm taking, when I buy those games and I get done with them, I take them to GameStop, just put it on my GameStop card.
Anyway, don't forget to spay neuter your Pokemon. We'll be back next week. We're coming up on our year show for E3. Hopefully we won't continue running this long. Bye.
Yeah.